And welcome back to our live coverage from the 50th U.S. Open. Joey Brander on hand all tournament long. We have defending champion, 17-time Grand Slam champion, 3-time U.S. Open champion, and the #1 ranked player in the world, Rafael Nadal, who just hit the practice courts. We have an exciting few hours of coverage left to go. Following Rafa's practice, we will have 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams take the practice court. They'll both be playing in the evening session on Arthur Ashe Stadium. Nadal preparing for his battle against the big serving Canadian 28-year-old Vasek Pospisil in the second round. There are sweltering conditions around the grounds once again. The ATP and WTA extreme heat policies once again in effect. Those policies award a 10-minute break between the second and third sets of the women's matches and the third and fourth sets of the men's matches to try and combat the incredibly warm conditions that players have been facing today. Well over 100 degrees with the heat index and over 110 and 10 degrees on the court. Incredibly warm conditions. Rafael Nadal once again hitting with his coach, former world #1, 1998 French Open champion, former US Open semi-finalist, Carlos Moya. Moya still looking great out there despite now being north of 40 years old. Thank you to everyone joining us around the world. The Rafa fans, of course, always in full force anytime that he practices. Rafa just getting warmed up, and the fans have packed the practice court stands. Dozens of fans lining in the hallways to try and get a glimpse of Rafa. Fans standing up in Arthur Ashe Stadium looking over the railings down to the practice courts, trying to snap pictures of the world #1 and, of course, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Rafa, not only the defending 2017 US Open champion, that victory coming over Kevin Anderson, the tall South African, in the final straight set victory, but he also won the 2010 and 2013 U.S. Open titles, defeating Novak Djokovic in 4 sets in both of those finals. Rafa, of course, the French Open champion once again this year, further asserting his career dominance on clay. He's also a Wimbledon semi-finalist, losing 10-8 in the 5th set against Novak Djokovic. Had a few match points in that one. Rafa coming out for a quick warm-up before his match. He'll be the second match on court in the nightcap this evening. Serena Williams will play first, starting at 7 p.m., followed by the world #1 Rafael Nadal himself against Vasek Pospisil. That's just one of 2 evening sessions tonight, of course, in the recently dedicated Louis Armstrong Stadium. Will have an evening session as well. The 18-seed Jack Sock, who's out here practicing now as well, followed by Garbiñe Muguruza. We have had an exciting day of action thus far on this day 3 of action at the 50th U.S. Open. The first day of the second round of play. Defending women's champion and #3 player in the world, Sloane Stephens, had a tough fight in her second round match. That's the first match to come in Arthur Ashe Stadium today. Sloane dropped the first set before taking home the final 2 for a hard-fought victory. Sloane will be in the third round, playing on Friday. In the third round, we expect to be filled with incredible matchups in both the men's and women's draw. There's a possible women's third round match between two players you may have heard of, Venus and Serena Williams. They're on track to face off. Roger Federer and Nick Kyrgios. Andy Murray, who's on court right now in Arthur Ashe Stadium, making his comeback to the US Open, could face 2009 champion and men's world number 3 Juan Martín del Potro. Andy Murray in a battle against former top 10 player Spaniard, the 31 seed Fernando Verdasco right now in Ashe, 5-all in the first set. Murray's looked sharp in practice week and hopefully can regain his health and get back to his championship ways. On Louis Armstrong Stadium, Juan Martín del Potro won the first set over American Denis Kudla, 6-3. Today also the start of doubles day around the grounds. On court 17, we have our first 5-setter of the day, Dominic Thiem, the number 9 seed, of course a French Open finalist, battling with the American Steve Johnson. That match in the 5th set. Thiem up a break in the 5th, 1-love, about to go up 2-love. Rafa Nadal has had quite the summer since his semi-final defeat in Wimbledon. Of course, he won the Canadian Open defeating the young Greek player Tsitsipas in the final. Tsitsipas was upset in the second round today in straight sets. That's a surprising outcome for a player that's looked so strong throughout the summer. After the Canadian Open victory, Rafa elected to not play in Cincinnati, the Masters 1000 there, taking an extra week of rest before getting to New York a little early. We've seen him out around the grounds here in Flushing Meadows every day of practice week, getting his rhythm for the main draw, playing practice sets with Stan Wawrinka and Kevin Anderson, among others. Rafa Nadal, of course, looking for Grand Slam number 18. Roger Federer, of course, with the most all-time, 20 slams. Rafa looking to close the gap and add more fuel to the greatest of all-time conversation. We've seen Federer and Nadal fans debate that very question here on US Open social media throughout the tournament. With his Wimbledon victory, Novak Djokovic hoping that he can become part of that conversation as well. After 2 years without winning a slam, Novak finally broke through once again, overcame the injury woes that had plagued him with that Wimbledon championship this year. The match against Rafa Nadal in the semis, a turning point for Novak. For the first time since his run of dominance started, you could see Novak's confidence seem to slip a bit on the court early this year, but the big semifinal victory, 10-8 in the 5th set over Rafa, certainly gave him a much-needed boost of confidence that he used to capture the Wimbledon crown, win Cincinnati as well to become first man to win all 9 Masters 1000 titles since it became this current group of 9. Novak had a bit of trouble yesterday in his first round matchup, but was able to pull through. Rafa will be playing in the final match in the evening session today against 28-year-old Canadian Vasek Pospisil. Pospisil, formerly top 25 in the world in singles, currently coming into the tournament ranked number 88 overall. Pospisil's best result in the Open is this second round showing, his third time in the second round. He is a former Wimbledon quarterfinalist, that appearance coming in 2015. Pospisil also a 2014 Wimbledon doubles champion when he partnered up with the man practicing right next to Rafa, Jack Sock. Pospisil coming in at 6'4", big server. But Rafa will certainly be heavily favored in that battle. Always nice to see more tennis royalty here on the practice courts. Of course, a privilege for the fans in the crowd and the fans at home to see Carlos Moya back on the court here hitting with Rafa. Moya, of course, plenty of fine memories here in Flushing Meadows, reaching a U.S. Open semifinal in his career. Ended up losing to Mark Philippoussis in that semifinal. Should they continue to win through, we could see a Rafael Nadal and Jack Sock battle in the fourth round here in the Open. Two of the biggest forehands on tour could be facing off. Rafa taking a bit of a breather, of course, with the incredibly warm conditions today. Players have been shortening their practice sessions. We saw Andy Murray earlier in the day come out for just about 15 minutes. Quickly warm up his strokes, hit a couple of serves and returns. Saw about 5 total practice points from Murray before heading back in the locker room and cooling off. On Arthur Ashe, Fernando Verdasco with a crucial break of Andy Murray. Verdasco now serving for the set, up 6-5. Andy Murray, of course, a 3-time Grand Slam champion, the 2012 U.S. Open champion, former world #1. It seems like quite a while ago that Murray was at the top of the tennis world, but it was only in late 2016, November of 2016, his last appearance at #1 in the world. Murray, of course, also the gold medalist in the 2016 Olympic Games, 2012 Olympic Games in London as well. The 2016 Wimbledon champ was Andy Murray, but some significant injuries over the past year and a half have sidelined him for quite a bit of past 2 seasons.
How are you guys? Here? Oh, Danny? Yeah. He was here doing the Nike stuff. Dude, how many sheets did they really send you that shirt?
Serena Williams' team just heading onto the court. She'll be taking the first practice court in just a little bit. Let us know in the comments how Rafa will fare in this U.S. Open. Juan commenting, "Vamos, Rafa." Anita rooting for Rafa in the comments as well. Jack commenting, "Rafa, Federer, all-time legends. Fed is his favorite, but all the big three are great." I would have to agree. We're certainly privileged to have seen such incredible tennis during this big three era. Grace in the comments showing her support for Rafa. Elizabeth picking Rafa to defend his title, as is Cassandra. Of course, thank you to all of our fans from around the world for joining us. Make sure you keep it locked in on US Open Social. Throughout the tournament, we'll be bringing you behind-the-scenes coverage and live practice sessions from all the top pros, letting you know how they're looking in their last-minute preparations before they hit their court. Rafa just a few hours away from his match. There are few words that can properly describe the Nadal forehand, especially from our view up close. There are few players on tour that can hit the kind of ball Nadal's hitting off that forehand wing. Such incredible height, speed, and such a heavy ball coming off of his racket. You see him pushing Carlos Moya deep into the court, forcing him to hit off his back foot. Ray in the comments picking Rafa to win it all. Let us know who's your pick to win the men's singles title in this 2018 US Open, the 50th anniversary of the Open. How will Rafa fare? Will he win his 18th Grand Slam and 4th career US Open, his 2nd consecutive US Open? Will Roger Federer win Grand Slam number 21? Will Novak Djokovic capitalize on the momentum he gained from his Wimbledon crown and capture another Open title here in Flushing Meadows? Roger Federer, of course, with a crushing victory over the young Japanese lefty Nishioka last night in Arthur Ashe Stadium. Straight set victory for Roger. Roger, a 5-time US Open champion, had a record 5 consecutive wins from 2004 to 2008, but has not won since. It's been a decade since his last Open title. 37-year-old is coming into the tournament hoping to rally at least one more US Open off to add to his storied tennis career. Speaking of storied tennis careers, as we said, Serena Williams will be out here on the practice courts any minute now. Serena had an overwhelming victory over Magda Linette in the opening round on Monday night. Steve in the comments picking Nick Kyrgios to win it all. Well, that is quite a prediction, Steve, going out on a limb. Kyrgios, of course, could face Roger Federer in the 3rd round. Kyrgios is one of the most talented young players on tour, but has not seemed to perfect the mental aspect of tennis just yet. You never really know what you're going to get from the young Aussie, but when he's playing well and showing 100% effort, there are few players in the world that can defeat him. Rafa Nadal stepping in, taking some volleys, just working on getting his timing before his match, getting used to the warmer conditions out here in Flushing Meadows again today. Make sure you stay tuned with us. More player practice coverage throughout the day, more behind-the-scenes coverage here on US Open social media. Everything you cannot find anywhere else. Keep it locked in with us all day long. More of Rafa and Serena Williams will be coming up. Joey Brander, your guide throughout the tournament. We'll be right back.